I never know if I should fix the lighting before or after I hit go live. Because I never know if the lighting's going to be bad or if it's going to be decent. And so that's why I'm walking around right now after the live has started. And like I know like a professional YouTuber would have this like sorted where like the lighting wouldn't be bad when they're going live, but it's not me if I'm one, not late, two, if I don't push back the time, and three, if I'm not prepared to go live, which all three of those things came true today. But however, yes, I did push back the time to go live. I'm still only 3 minutes late compared to what the original time was supposed to be. So a win is a win, right? There's a cat. There's a cat. That was one of my cats. That popped up right there. My cats are squaring off with my dog. Hold on. They were in my dog's personal business. So this is episode 2 of my book club. I was meant to happen in June, but then things happened where I wasn't able to go live for the book club in June. So here we are in July. But to make up for it being late, instead of having read 3 books, because on TikTok I post a video like every 2 months recapping the books I have read, and on YouTube I go live every 3 months to talk about the books I've read. And so with this book club live stream, I have read 5 books in a matter of 3 months. And in my last book club video, I was saying how I have a goal of reading 10 books in the year, and how I only read 3 from January, February, March. And from April to June, I've read 5 books, and in those 5 books, I have read the same book twice. So, and like I'm not someone that like rereads books or like whatever, but I was like obsessed with this one couple, and I just had to read it again. I had to read it again, okay? This book right here is a future book that like I'll briefly give like a description of like what it's about after I've like discussed. My cat is using the litter box. Lovely. Get out. Okay, I kind of like rewatched my last book club to like see like what books I talked about and to make sure I didn't leave anything off, and also to kind of see like how I started the last book club video. And in that starting the last book club video, I was literally like, oh yeah, I have an Opalite reaction video. That's all filmed. I just need to upload it. And that was back in March. And then I was like, fingers crossed it comes out in April. It's July and it has not come out. I still have it. When will I upload it? We don't know. Will it be 6 months after the music video? Will it be a year after the music video? I don't know. But the first 2 books I read in April, it was You Won't Forget Me and Smash or Pass. And both of those are sapphic love stories. We love a good sapphic love story. I loved Cassandra from Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, Haley Kiyoko, Where There's Room for Us, and Girls Like Girls. And I love how like after I was done reading Where There's Room for Us, I felt like I was like literally cheating on Haley Kiyoko, because like she was like the only woman I've ever like read a book for that had a sapphic love interest. But with her only having 2 books, there's not much else for me to read. So I had to like expand out. And I did. And I found 2 sapphic love stories. One of them is a book called Smash or Pass. And it is about these obviously like they're both sapphic love stories. Like You Won't Forgive Me and Smash or Pass are both sapphic love stories. I am trying to find my notes for Smash or Pass because I read it like early April and it's early July. So it's been a hot minute since I've read it. But hi to whoever's watching. This is our second book club episode. Woo! The next book club video will be supposed to be June, so January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So September is when the next one's supposed to be. Okay, so I have my notes, and I'm just gonna give like a whatever I talked about in the notes section is like what I'm gonna talk about here. That way, I like get everything out. I have notes for 2 of the books I read. The other 2, we're just going off of memory because I did not take notes on the book. But there are 2 main characters. Obviously, there's main characters because there's 2 main characters. It's the sapphic love interest. We have our the MC. Her name's Ellie. Well, I feel like it's a short name for something. Eliana, Eleanor. It's not Eliana. Eleanor. That's her name. That's her actual name. But Ellie is an autistic girl who has 7 rules she has to follow in social settings, and she has these 7 rules as like a social construct that way, like if things get awkward, she has something to fall back on. And sometimes, even though she has these 7 rules to fall back on, they're not always there to help her. Sometimes they set her back a little bit. And in the beginning of the book, much like You Won't Forget Me, which I'll get into that later, we have like a preface of like her and the boyfriend together, and then they break up because the boyfriend's an ass. And Ellie and her boyfriend break up almost instantly. And something that has happened along the years is Ellie has pushed back her brother to the side so he can't see the real her anymore. And like if memory serves me correctly, I think they're twins. I did not write that in my notes, but like if memory serves me correctly, they're twins. And Ellie's twin brother is supposed to know her better than anyone in the world. And at some point, she put a barrier up where she won't even let her twin brother into her life anymore. And some like little notices, like I talked about this with like where did I talk about this? I'm sure I talked about it with like No Charm Done, and how like there's like the little notices where it's not just lesbian or gay, there's also like asexual and demisexual. And in this book I see like there's like little notices of like there's a non-binary character where they use they them, and that's like, oh yeah, that's their bag. Or I'm just using like an example where they them can be like used singular. And so I loved how there was a non-binary character, and then there was another character who used he they pronouns, and the they part of the pronouns got used predominantly more than the he pronouns. And I I just love how it's not like these books I'm finding aren't just straight, or like you're straight and you're dating a man or a woman. That's it. I love how it's expanding upon the LGBTQIA umbrella, and how there's non-binary characters, and then there's a character who uses 2 different pronouns, but the they them pronouns get used predominantly more than the he him pronouns. And um then we get introduced to the love interest. Her name's Sierra, and she is the camp owner's daughter. Something I should have mentioned was the premise of this book takes place at a volleyball camp. That's why it's called Smash or Pass. And um and then as they go, they have this like icebreaker game where they see who works well with each other, who doesn't, who needs somebody to like push them out of their shell. and like who needs someone to like rein it in kind of thing. And so Sierra and Ellie get paired together, and as like the book kind of gets going, Ellie and Sierra make a deal. Sierra will help Ellie with volleyball practice while also helping her not care. And even if it's background noise compared to the front runner of Ellie and Sierra's story, I love how we get to see a shattered brother and sister in the beginning grow into being close again. How Noah, that's her brother, kind of has this empty feeling in him despite having golden retriever energy where he always comes off as happy. Because that's the thing about like people with like the brightest smiles, they always are battling like the hardest demons. And so Noah, we kind of see like since Ellie has autism, the attention has kind of been like put onto her and like how can we make her feel comfortable in life. But like as the book goes on, we see Noah has struggles and he needs help and he has this empty feeling in him. And it was just nice that like the books are talking about like depression and like getting therapy, and it's not just all sunshine and rainbows. And like I just love when a story expands on something where it can be seen as like taboo or like not everybody talks about this. The story is amping up and we are starting to see Ellie feel things for Sierra. The bed scene where they share where they were only inches apart, and then the after sun lotion and bathroom scene where Ellie is rubbing it onto Sierra. I should mention that there was a 36 question thing where you get to know that your partner that led them to being inches apart from each other in bed. Noah asked Ellie how she felt about kissing Daniel, and she said she felt tense. Daniel is her ex boyfriend, and how she felt kissing Sierra, butterflies, which led her to realize she likes girls. And something I should have mentioned kind of like in the beginning of the book of discussing this book is after Ellie broke up or her boyfriend broke up with her. um, First and foremost, this camp takes place in 2 weeks. So all of this is happening in 2 weeks where Ellie's trying to get back her ex-boyfriend, but then she kind of realizes that she has feelings for Sierra, and that's kind of why Noah, her brother, asked her, "How do you feel about kissing Daniel?" And she says she feels tense when kissing him. But then, like, how would she feel if she kissed Sierra? And she was like, butterflies. And I'm like, I absolutely love this because something that I read in No Charm Done and something that I read in Smash or Pass is we have this heteronormality. I don't know how to pronounce the word, but like we have this idea where like this society puts pressure on a straight relationship, and so Ellie sees herself as she has to be with a guy, even though she's telling herself I should have feelings for Daniel. I should be wanting to kiss him. I should be wanting to get him back. But the more you say I should be feeling these things, the more okay, maybe I have feelings for somebody of the same gender happens. And I kind of like cuz like that also happened in No Charm Done where what's her name? It was Chrysanthemum, and it was Lily, I think. And Lily was the one where she was like, I know he's attractive. Like, I can tell he's attractive. I should be falling for him, but she's not. And that's kind of how it is with Ellie and Daniel, where she should be getting back together with him. And she spends most of camp time trying to get back with her ex boyfriend. And then feelings happen between Ellie and Sierra where she starts like, okay, maybe I do have feelings for Sierra. And Sierra is someone that like she was on the volleyball camp back home, and but because she came out as a lesbian or people outed her. No, so Ellie's best friend outed Sierra. And Ellie had no idea about this. And with the outing of Sierra, Sierra got kicked off of her volleyball team because they didn't feel comfortable with someone being a lesbian. staring at girls getting undressed out of their regular clothes into their uniform. And so being at this camp kind of gives Sierra this like fresh start, and how she's not seen as just a lesbian, but she's still like comfortable in her skin with being a lesbian, if that makes sense. And then I literally have in all caps lock, they kissed. Cause I love when the first kisses happen. I love when the first kisses happen. Um, Sierra never once made Ellie feel bad, always reassuring her everything will be okay, or that she wasn't mad they didn't get first place in the volleyball games. How she went to her camp counselor to help Ellie when she was on the verge of meltdown, admitting she started doing research about autism, and Ellie admitted to herself that outside of her family, no one has that gone that far, which makes it sad. And I love how Ellie is putting it all in to doing volleyball, as well as Sierra putting it all in to learning about Ellie's autism. Because if they're starting to have feelings for each other, it's good that your romantic interest is like showing, or your romantic partner is showing interest in like your personality and also what you like to do. Ellie interpreted Sierra wanting to talk to Nina, who is Ellie's supposed best friend, as she liked her supposed. Ellie interpreted Sierra wanting to talk to Nina as she liked her supposed best friend. So at her 17th birthday, she tells Nina to go talk to Sierra. Bubbles. My dog tried to eat the cat litter. Um, Thinking that was what was best. Nina said something pushing for Sierra to stay away from Ellie without even telling Ellie what she was doing. Sierra stormed off before hearing Ellie out, told Veronica everything, and left their group chat. Veronica is one of the friends that they met at volleyball camp, and I don't remember who Veronica is. Veronica could have been the non-binary character. Veronica could have been um the person dating the non-binary character. Like I should have, like, when reading books, I tend to focus on like just the character arc of like the main characters. So when it comes to the side characters, I kind of forget about their personality a little bit if I don't make notes on who they are. But Veronica is in their friend group, and we see Ellie create this presentation expressing that she no longer is the girl she was before leaving camp, how she can speak her mind and be vulnerable, and that she fell in love and realized she was a lesbian. How she was sorry for the way things went down with Sierra. Sierra could not stop thinking about Ellie all day after that presentation, because during that presentation, Ellie and Sierra had a class together, and then after that presentation, they had to go their separate ways because they didn't have any more classes together. And so Ellie was on Sierra's mind all day. We love that. I would have loved to give a presentation and just have my romantic love interest just think about me for the rest of the day. That would have been amazing. They got together officially, and Sierra was able to get on her dream team with her camp friends coming to support her. Something I should mention about Ellie being a lesbian is that there was a specific umbrella for it. Oh, that's another thing I should have mentioned. How not only was Ellie willing to do volleyball for Sierra, she also was learning more about the LGBTQIA community from one of their friends. I believe it was Veronica, and how it's more than just lesbian, gay, straight, queer. How there are other labels under the LGBTQIA umbrella. And so Ellie realized she was a demi-romantic lesbian, and it can be like a woman or a non-binary person aligned with womanhood who experiences romantic attraction solely towards women, non-binary people, but only after forming a deep emotional bond. This orientation combines homo-romantic attraction with a requirement for emotional intimacy before romantic feelings develop. And I love this because, like I was talking about, how with No Charm Done, we see Lily realize not only is she asexual, but there's a more specific term for it, which is demisexual. And how I have lots of friends who were like trying to like figure out their identity. And so like the more that they learn about their identity, the more I was kind of like learning about how there's more than just asexual, lesbian, transgender, non-binary, queer, intersexual, and like there's just so much more than just the acronym that IA community gives us. And so I love seeing that. And I should also mention that you won't forget, not you won't, Smash or Pass is a book I got through NetGalley, so that's kind of like why I haven't had like a book to like show you guys. So yeah, um, I really, I even though I was not like obsessed with Smash or Pass like I was with like No Charm Done and Where There's Room for Us and Girls Like Girls, I still loved it. I think like even though it takes place over 2 weeks, I feel like it was going too slow. But then like once Ellie and Sierra had their first kiss, once Sierra was learning about Ellie's autism, I became more entranced with the story and I couldn't put the book down. I literally stayed up until like 5 a.m. maybe. Like 4 or 5 I literally heard the birds chirping and one of my parents leaving for work. That's and really funny. And so like once you have a good book, you kind of like lose yourself in it. And I was like, oh, just like one more chapter. And then like that one chapter turned into like three more chapters. And then like once I learned that there was only like two chapters left, I was like, I can't leave it with just two chapters. And so I ended up finishing the book. And so I think so far out of like the queer love stories I've talked about, or like the books I've talked about so far, I feel like it might go Where There's Room for Us, Girls Like Girls, No Charm Done, and then Smash or Pass. And I don't, there's another queer story coming that it's going to interrupt that ranking, but that's kind of like where I see that book sitting right now. And I want to say I don't remember what I gave it on Goodreads. No Charm, not No Charm. Oh my god, Smash or Pass. But with it being like the lowest out of the four queer books I've talked about so far, I feel like this book might sit at like a 7.9, maybe an 8 out of 10, where it was still like really good and like the ending did suck me in. I just think it was too much of a slow burn to get where we were. And like I feel like if there was a slow burn to get where we are, I feel like it should have been done over a longer period of time rather than just 2 weeks. And like there's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens. Noah, the girl he likes, wasn't at camp last year, and him and his friend group were like wondering where she was, and she was like, oh, I have bipolar disorder and last summer was like really hard for me, and so she didn't come. And I loved how bipolar, not only did Noah's mental health get talked about in this book, we also got to see Sloane's mental health get talked about. Like even though they're only minor characters, we still get to see their mental health talked about, and I really love that about this book. And so, like, maybe for, like, that aspect, like, instead of giving it a 7.9, I'll give it, like, an 8. Give it, like, a clean number. That way, because like I said, I really loved how it talks about subjects that are predominantly taboo to talk about. And so maybe I'll just give it, like, an 8. My next book I'm gonna talk about, this book, I love the ARCA. Okay, so Smash or Pass was an ARCA I got through NetGalley. And so I wasn't like as obsessed with Smash or Pass as I was with like Where There's Room for Us and Girls Like Girls and No Charm Done. So I haven't gotten that book yet. But the second ARC I had in April was called You Won't Forget Me. And I literally planned a Barnes and Noble's trip the day this book came out. And I was like, I need to get this book because it's so good, you guys. This book is so good, and I can't stop talking about it. I've talked with the author, and I've gotten some like insight tea about the book because I'm just special like that. Uh, and so I read this book for the first time in April with an ARC, like on. I haven't gotten like physical books for ARCs yet, but I have gotten like online copies of it through NetGalley. And so I read it for the first time through NetGalley. And then, like I said, when it came out on paperback, I was like, I have to get it. So I literally planned the whole Barnes and Noble trip after work, and I got the book, and I am obsessed. And I absolutely love that the pages got spray painted pink. I have another book where Where There's Room for Us by Haley Kiyoko. That one's also spray painted. And I love that the edges are a different color and it's not just white. Like this, like makes sense because this is like an autobiography. But like my love story is, oh, give me a spray painted edge. Give me a spray painted edge. And so I'm going to talk about Darcy and Cubby and how they both make me mad. They both piss me off so bad. And they both piss me off so bad, kind of like Sonia and Coley from Girls Like Girls, where they both like they're just these like stupid teenagers or like young adults where they're trying to figure out their feelings and they don't have life figured out. So it's not as simple as just tell the person you like them. But they pissed me off so bad. Okay, so to kind of talk about You Won't Forget Me. This is this right here is Cubby, and that is Darcy. And Cubby and Darcy kiss so Cubby could have practice for her first kiss with Connor. Connor is important. Keep that name in mind. Connor is someone that Cubby has had feelings for, and she's really nervous about her first kiss with Connor. And so Darcy was like, "You can practice kissing me." What straight friend tells another straight friend, "Oh yeah, you can kiss me to practice kissing with your boyfriend"? What straight person does that? And so Cubby and Darcy's first kiss was electric. Cubby's kiss with Connor wasn't what she was hoping for after her kiss with Darcy. And so her first kiss with a woman was so much better than her first kiss with a man. Connor, garbage. Darcy, the love of my life and the love of Cubby's life. And that's kind of like the preface of like, we have a prologue, which is that first chapter where Cubby has feelings for Connor, and then she's nervous about the first kiss, and Darcy's like, "You can practice kissing me," and then Connor and Cubby get together, but then there's also Harry, and Connor's like, "I don't like the way he looks at you," and Cubby's like, "We're all friends. Like, there's no way Harry looks at me that like for you to be jealous of." And then we get a flash forward 5 years. And in that 5 years, we see Connor and Cubby on and off for 4.5 years of that timeline. I should also mention that they are in a band. And so Cubby is their lead singer. And Connor was like I don't remember what Connor was because he's an irrelevant piece of shit. And he left the band, but he's leaving the band and breaking up with Cubby to promote him going solo. How he's talking about how bad this ex-girlfriend is in bed. And people are like, "Oh, poor Connor. Cubby, you're such a WHORE. How could you do this to our man Connor? You're such a heartbreaker. You should go jump off a cliff." Cubby and Connor were on and off for 4.5 years, broke up 8 months ago, and he has been slandering her name. Her new band isn't doing so hot either. Like, her personal life is going to shit, and her professional life is going to shit. And Connor went on a late night talk show and made it seem like hubby was the bad guy and stole an unreleased song and repurposed it for his liking, knowing she couldn't do anything about it except for start from the beginning. He stole a song from her and he used it to promote his fame. Hi to the two people watching. And their manager or their publicist or whatever was like, if we do anything about this, it's gonna make you look like the crazy ex. Like the media's already shitting on you. We don't need to add more of a negative story to you or the band. And so he just got away with stealing one of her songs that she poured her heart into, and she played it to him when she first wrote it, and he did not like it. And now he literally just stole the words straight from her heart. And the band, the four of them were in, including Harry. Connor left, leading to two new band members joining, and it was hard for them to connect and create music until they all hit a sweet spot. Very limited mouth-esque, if you ask me. Because like they're all just like having this like communicative band moment where they haven't been able to create music, but they get into this like little groove where they just like sit in a room together and Cubby's bouncing off melodies and people are and so like lyrics are kind of being spilled out and melodies are being spilled out, and so we kind of, like I said, it's kind of like this like lemonade mouth-esque thing where we see them finally working together as a band and how they're not just arguing. And then after they work as a band, they went out to have drinks and there was a kiss between Cubby and Harry, leading them to possibly use it as their next single cover, which caused controversy, which we'll talk about the controversy later. Back to Cubby and Darcy, the loves of my life, but also the torment of my life. And Cubby and Darcy are drunk and they have sex, yet their relationship has grown awkward after not speaking personally about it because they were both like on a euphoric high, and then Darcy's mom had to call and berate her for wearing a shirt even though she's a grown-ass woman. And then after being on that high of having sex with one of your girlfriends, this tension builds between Darcy and Cubby. And oh my god, this tension is like, why won't they just talk about it? Why won't they just talk about it? And so Darcy literally tells Cubby, don't be silly about it. Like it was just whatever. And then but then Darcy kind of like presses a little more because she knows if Cubby like thinks about what happened more and more, she's gonna spiral about it. And when Cubby spirals, the whole band spirals. And so Darcy was just like, okay, it's like it's gonna bother you. Like, I don't really want to talk about what just happened the night before, but like if it's gonna make you spiral, then I guess we have to talk about it. And Cubby was like, no, I'm fine. We don't have to talk about it, whatever. And so they didn't talk about it for weeks, months. Cubby and Harry had to pretend they are dating or just play into the romantic side for the sake of making the band more big because it could be a messy love triangle. And so you remember how I talked about like the Harry and Cubby kissing and how it led to controversy. So they posted that on Harry's Instagram and Cubby was like, some photos are meant to say in the camera roll D-head. And so with that photo being, because it was Darcy and Cubby, not Darcy and Cubby, it was Cubby and Harry kissing. And so with that photo being uploaded, people were like, oh my god, Cubby's after another man in their band. And men. But then others are like, oh my god, they're so cute. I always suspected something between Cubby and Harry. And so the person that like was like in control of their band was like, you guys don't have to like date, but you have to play into the romantic aspect of like, okay, so that kiss went public. So now you guys have to go on like dates and you guys have to like act romantic in public and go have like being photographed and whatever. Anything to give the band good press. But in order with giving the band good press, everybody is for this. Darcy's for this, Harry's for this, Kale's for this. We'll talk about Kale later. And Skull is for this. Like everybody is for this, but Cubby. Because she's already being berated in the news. Why does she need to play a romantic relationship and for her to get berated even more? Because this new relationship between Harry and Cubby could create this love triangle and how it could give the band press. And that's kind of what they need because these are a bunch of nobodies. And Connor is the one that went solo and has a good career. We see the fake relationship between Cubby and Harry growing, especially with their first super public moment where Cubby was nervous at their first show and he was there to help her. Darcy was their assigned photographer for their fake date, and you could see the first true crack in Darcy and Cubby's friendship, even though we saw signs prior, like their after the intimate night they had. And Darcy did say Cubby was the only person she would smoke, get stoned with, and like I love that. I love how like even though the friendship between Darcy and Cubby is kind of like dissolving, we still have moments where like they can be normal and Darcy isn't just neglecting or wanting to change her friendship with Cubby. And like I feel like Darcy kind of like is acting like that. Well, she is acting like this because she's jealous that Harry gets to be with Cubby, that Harry gets to kiss Cubby, that they get to be public about their relationship, whereas Darcy's still realizing I like women, but what if Cubby doesn't like women back? And so something that Cubby is aware of like the LGBTQIA community because her parents are mom, and so it's two women together, and so she's aware that like a woman can be with a woman, and it's not like these feelings she's trying to suppress like Darcy is. It's just something she's never been aware of until the more this fake relationship goes on. Darcy and Cubby are fighting a lot, with Darcy throwing at her that not everything is about Cubby and giving a half-assed apology, sweeping stuff under the rug. Cubby realizing she aligns with the LGBTQIA community, but doesn't know her label. Her brother and his girlfriend telling her to be honest, and she refuses, letting the ruse keep going on. Cause like she had like a date with like her brother and his girlfriend, and so as she's talking, the girlfriend asks like, "Are you sure you don't have feelings for Darcy?" And then she's like, "Huh." Like even though like I have my mom and my mom, I just never thought that that life could be for me. And so that's something new she's spiraling about, as well as her relationship with Harry. But in realizing this, and her and Darcy still not talking about that night they had sex, she's suppressing it, as well as suppressing the anxiety and how turbulent her like tumultuous her life is, and so like she's suppressing everything. And Harry kissed Cubby, and Darcy got pissed, even though she had no right to. I something that like I feel like should have gotten like a warning about with this book is an unconsensual kiss. And so Harry kissed Cubby without even asking her if it would be okay. And I feel like that's the only reason why Darcy should be mad that Harry kissed Cubby, but then again, she has no right to because for one, she's not dating Cubby, and for two, it's Harry and Cubby's relationship to work out, not Darcy. Especially when Darcy just iced or will ice Cubby out for like 2 fucking weeks. Cubby is trying to fool herself into being straight because Harry's like, I want to take our fake relationship to the next level. And so, like, how Ellie was telling herself in Smash or Pass, and how Lily was telling herself in No Charm Done, Cubby's also telling herself, like, I should, like, Harry's this great guy. I should be having feelings for him. Like, I have love for him, but I'm not in love with him. And so she's trying to fool herself into being straight. And Cubby meets up with Connor, not knowing their interaction was a play, and it caused tension in the group. So Connor did something. He went live on Instagram and he was like, I'm taking a break after all this backlash of like going on social media. And so after he goes live and like Cubby's watching this live stream, he messages Cubby and like, we should meet up in person. And so Cubby, being the naive girl she is, she willingly goes and sees Connor. And not knowing, Connor literally called the paparazzi to like take pictures of Cubby and Connor hugging and supposedly making up and put it in the media. And with putting it in the media, Cubby's band sees it and they are not happy about that, which causes tension and the group to take a break for a couple days and canceling shows and people berating Cubby even more, being like, oh, they're just using health reasons as like a smokescreen because Cubby's throwing a tantrum and that's just something that they need to cover for. Darcy is almost there with sharing her feelings. And what I mean with this is like Cubby also has some dental issues where like her gums were getting swollen, her cheeks were swollen, her wisdom teeth were bothering her. And so like there was actual health concerns where the shows did have to be canceled. And so with Cubby having to go into surgery to get her wisdom teeth taken out, Darcy is called upon and she comes for moral support for Cubby. And after this surgery, they go to this like cabin or like lake house. And that is when Darcy is on the verge of like, I'm sorry for acting like an asshole. I'm doing this because I love you. And then when they finally confess and they kiss and everything in between, I loved it. I loved their second sex scene. I loved their kisses. I loved their relationship. Um and then as like I something that is also like big and prominent in their relationship is social media. And so how I mentioned with like the kiss cover for like a possible single and how Harry and Cubby have to play into the media, um Cubby becomes reliant of like if she can stay on top of what the public is saying about her, then that's what she's gonna do. And so she becomes reliant on her phone. And so Darcy has to like hide her phone and Cubby keeps pressing her, do you have my phone? And Darcy keeps saying no. And then Cubby asks her one more time, do you have my phone? And Darcy's like, yes. And so Darcy finally gets the phone back, but then she sees the spiral Cubby's going on and literally chucks her phone into the water. And after that happened, like I said, Darcy and Cubby get together. They're finally together. And then we're going to come back to Harry and Kale. And so this is why I said we'll come back to Kale. Because him and, like, even though Cubby and Darcy are, like, the main relationship in this book, there are still small moments that are teased upon with Harry and Kale. And this is where I'm talking about, like, how I've been talking with the author. Because I saw at the end of the book, we have this moment where, like, when the band is on their break, Harry was like, oh yeah, I've been spending time with Kale. And Kale's kind of like gives Cubby attitude and flack for a lot of stuff. And so Cubby is like, that sounds like such like not like a downer, but like sounds like you gave up a lot of your free time. And Harry was like, he wasn't that bad. And then he's also like, I have something to tell you, but then doesn't tell them. And then Kale's like, are you in love with Harry? To Cubby. And Cubby's like, maybe in another lifetime. And then Kale was like, what about this lifetime? And then Cubby's like, I have love for him. I always will be. Always will. And then, but she's like, I'm not in love with him. And then Kale's just like, And then in like the epilogue of the story, we get a look into more of like Harry and Kale's relationship and how Kale gives Harry the shift. And the shift is like an Irish word for hold on, it's at the end of the book, so like I know exactly like what page I'm like looking for. And so okay, so for note for our non-Irish readers, the shift is apparently a slang term for open mouth kissing. And yeah, so they just open mouth kiss, and like my little queer heart, like not only is this about Harry, Cubby and Darcy, we also get to see like this budding relationship between Kale and Harry. And I messaged the author like after I read the book, and I was like, this is a phenomenal book. And so then we started talking, and I was like, how does Harry identify under the LGBTQIA community? And she was like, he's queer. And I'm like, oh my god, I knew it. Cause like he was in love with Cubby. Like he was the one that wanted to take their relationship to the next level. And so I was like, okay, so he has to fall somewhere on like the bisexual, pansexual kind of like line. Cause like he Kale gives him the shift, but then he was in love with Cubby for a little bit. And so I had to ask her and be like,
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
rude. And so I had to like ask her, and I'm like, how does Harry fall in this on this umbrella? And then on my second read of the book, I was like, now that I know that Harry is queer, I was kind of picking up the signs between Kale and Harry. And so I was talking with her, and she and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad that you were like noticing." She's like, "He's our pansexual king," and I'm like, "Well, the first time you told me he was just queer, and now you're telling me that he's pansexual," and I'm like, "I love this." And going back to Darcy and Cubby, I back to like the social media thing. Okay, so after Darcy realized like she can like women and her and Cubby do get together, she makes this post about her and Cubby and how she's finally coming to terms with her being pansexual. And so after that post and like the turbulence that Cubby went through with the social media, they're keeping their relationship for them. And so anything that they further in their relationship stays with them and with their band, and they're not making anything public unless they do like an interview. And they like look at each other and they start laughing and everything else. Bubbles. Bubbles. And so I really love that. And I feel like that's all, but I might be forgetting something. But like I talked like 40 minutes about two books when I have two other books to talk about. So like those two books are unfortunately but fortunately taking a lot of the time in this video. But which is good because I didn't take really that many notes about the other two books. Um So let's give like a re-ranking of the queer sapphic love stories I've read. Obviously, Where There's Room for Us. I feel like I might place this at number 2. You Won't Forget. So like Where There's Room for Us, You Won't Forget Me, Girls Like Girls, No Charm Done, and then Smash or Pass. Like the last two I feel like was too much of a slow burn to get like where we needed to get, so that's kind of like why they're low. And then Girls Like Girls kind of like faulted on like the I wanted a dual perspective, and as much as it was like it was a lot of Coley, and then we got some like aim updates from Sonia, and so it lacked that dual perspective, and the ending kind of felt rushed. And I feel like so far out of the 5 sapphic love stories I've read, You Won't Forget Me and Where There's Room for Us are the two strongest out of the books I've read. And so I feel like You Won't For or Where There's Room for Us maybe has like a 9.5, and then You Won't Forget Me maybe like a 9.2, 9.3. So those are very high for me. Um so I'm gonna quickly like rapid fire these last two books. In May, I read Semi Well Adjusted by Alyson Stoner. Um, I obviously like compare my books a lot, and so with Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died, I feel like that was a harder read for me to get into because I don't want my mom dead. So like that kind of topic was just like not really for me. So like it took me well over a year to finish that book solely for the fact of like the conversations that were being had in the book. Like it just wasn't something I gravitated towards reading, but I knew I had to finish the book because when I read something, I'm not going to stop reading it because it's a bad book or because it doesn't pull my interest. I will finish reading it. But with Alyson Stoner's Semi Well Adjusted, I gravitated more towards the story because it wasn't as heavy of a topic as it was as Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. And so with this book, we see that the topic of how the child's mother or dad or both parents really push for their child to be in the entertainment industry. And so when we see Alyson as a younger child, we kind of see Alyson wanting to be in the public eye. But like as we get towards the end of the series, Alyson's dad is kind of like, your mom is the one that wanted that life for you. Your mom is the one that prevented me from seeing you. Your mom and her husband are the ones that like were blackmailing me from staying away from you. That way you wouldn't get distracted and like want to come home. How the mom was stealing money from her even though she had a Coogan account, and how in the beginning we don't see the abusive relationship between the mother and Alyson. But as time goes on, we kind of see that, oh, Alyson was being taken advantage of, and how um, they were left financially unstable, and how there was no money. They couldn't pay the backup dancers, and um, what's it called? And how in the beginning of the book, we see Alyson wanting to break out of just a Disney star actor, a Disney Channel actor, how she was craving that big break, and how we also see her battling and eating, or them balancing battling an eating disorder, and how they went to rehab to get help with that eating disorder. And with going to rehab, they lost out on the role, I think it was Glimmer, for the Hunger Games. I had no idea Alyson auditioned or even was up for a role in the Hunger Games. But like they had to turn down that role because it didn't feel right for the place they were in their life. And how we see this major love, like when a lot of the time we see child actors grow up and they hate their younger roles. But Alyson will forever have this love for, hi, thank you for the thumbs up. Alyson will forever have this love for being that little white girl in the Elliott music video. And I'm only saying little girl because it's quite literally what Alyson keeps calling themselves in Semi Well Adjusted. And so we see Cheaper by the Dozen talk. We see Missy Elliott talk. We see Sweetlight talk. We see Hunger Games talk. We see all this talk about being in the industry. And we also see Alyson exploring their sexuality and how they can be in a queer relationship, and how like the more they grow up, the more they see how tumultuous their younger life was, and how they didn't have as much control as they thought they did. And the one thing I was wishing for in this book was seeing Alyson learn that they were non-binary, because we see just about every aspect of their life except for that one major chapter of their life. And I'm really hoping that we see like we have like a part 2 to this book where Alyson does talk about the non-binariness. But I loved how like we got to see like therapy, and we got to see like an eating disorder, and like figuring out sexuality, and like wanting to do more than just being boxed into a Disney Channel star. And this book so much better. Like in my opinion, I was able to get through this much easier than I was with Glad My Mom Died. I feel wrong for ranking autobiographies or memoirs, and so I'm not gonna rank this, but it's just a little bit better than Jeanette McCurdy's. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is Molly Burke's Unseen. The first thing I want to talk about, the first couple things I want to talk about is how she's inclusive and she wants everybody to like have a chance to read this book. And this cover has Braille on it. Those are those white dots you see. And I remember when this book was about to be published, they released copies where the cover wasn't right. And that's not something Molly wanted to stand for. And so she took she redid the cover, she made sure they were properly put out, and because she had a vision for this, pun intended, and she wanted to follow through with it. Another thing I really loved about this book is how she chose this one specific font. So like people with low vision or like dyslexia, like it could be easier for them to read. But now to like talk about like the actual book and like how with Alyson Stoner, how like I felt like there was something missing. With this book, it was too like all over the place. And so with Alyson Stoner and like Jeanette McCurdy's book, we have like one consistent story shown as they grew up. But with Molly Burke's book, we see so like, she could be talking about how this happened when she was 14, and then we could see this happening when she was like 18, and then we go back to like 15. And it was kind of hard to like keep up with the book bouncing around from like different ages when it could have been told in like one continuous story. I really wish she would have told it in one continuous story. And like I did love like hearing her talk about like Gypsy, especially because I've been here with Molly since Gallup, but I have not like been here since Gypsy. So it's nice hearing her talk about Gypsy. I would have really loved if she would have gotten more in depth with her mom's cancer diagnosis and how like what happened with Benny, and yeah. So I'm getting tired. Like as you see this video go on, you can quite literally see the life draining from my eyes. But yeah, those are the the 5 books I read. 5 books? Yeah, the 5 books I read in 3 months. I'm going to give a brief overview of what my next book is going to be about. That way you guys can know what to expect for September's book club episode. As much as I love a queer love story, I still love reading about straight relationships. My Big Fat Vampire Wedding. I am a huge lover of fantasy, and yeah. So I'm just going to read like what the back of the book says, and then we're going to wrap up this video. So one fake marriage, 100 ways that this could go wrong. Oh no. Pandora has real problems. She still lives with her parents. She's working a dead-end job. And oh yeah, she's a vampire who must get married by her birthday in 3 months' time. Or she won't inherit the ancient family fortune. Once I catch, she's single. She manages to find her perfect fake husband, her work crush, Victor, a PhD student with mountains of student debt. She can marry him, inherit, pay off his debt, and divorce him. It's a foolproof plan. Well, unless Victor discovers she's a vampire. But the road to the altar won't be an easy one for this vampire and human couple. Pandora's little crush on Victor is growing. And with their big fat vampire wedding looming, will their promise of till death do us part be fake after all? The perfect spooky, sexy rom-com for fans of My Roommate is a Vampire, Twilight, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I had not heard of My Roommate is a Vampire. I've watched Twilight, never read the books, and I've heard of Buffy. Still haven't read it, but yeah. So this is going to be July's book, and maybe I'll read another book this month. Because I have other autobiographies I've started but haven't finished, so I have to finish those. I have another book, another queer sapphic love story, like physical book I have to read. And then I have another ARC that's due by next month. So I feel like after this book, I might read the ARC. Yeah. So it's kind of like an update of like what's to come. If you like this video, I have a book club from March that's uploaded. You can go watch that. I'm so sorry that I talked about 2 books for like 40 minutes, 45, 50 minutes, and then like the last 10 minutes I talked about only 2 books. I just have a lot to say about a queer sapphic love story. What can I say? If you like this type of content, go watch my book club meeting from March. And then my next one will be in September. So look forward to that. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers before the end of the year. If you like this channel, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what are some books you read from the beginning of the year to July. I have read 8 books. Like my goal this year was to read 10 books, and I've read 8 books so far. 8 books? Where There's Room for Us, No Charm Done, Half His Age, Smash or Pass, You Won't Forget Me, Semi-Well Adjusted, and Unseen. So I've read 7 books for the first time, and then I read a book for like the second time. And so I'm only 2 books away from reaching my 10 books this year. I've had a 10-book goal for the last 3 years, so I'm really excited that I'm about to hit my 10-book goal. Like at the latest by August, at the earliest by this month, which is crazy. So yeah. That's kind of like what to expect from me. The Frozen and Tangled comparison is coming. The Opalite reaction video is coming. I plan to start uploading videos from TikTok once again. I have a job now, and so like when I had the free time, I was like, oh yeah, I'll post a video when I get the chance. And like edit the video and post it. And now that I'm working, it's like I absolutely have no free time now. It's like when am I gonna find the time to do the shit? Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. If the photos for Taylor Swift's wedding dress drops, you best believe I will be going live. You best believe. I went live when the engagement happened. I went live when Taylor reclaimed her masters. I went live when she announced her new album. You best believe I will go live when she drops those damn wedding photos. So yeah. Bye. Thank you for watching.